we don't want it to be limited to veterinary medicine.
Yeah.
What we're looking to create, we joke, we don't have time to dream small, so let's just change the world.
I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide. All right. Today, we're going to welcome to the podcast Alyssa Mages. Is that right?
It is. Rhymes with pages.
Oh, rhymes with pages. Alyssa is the Chief Visionary Officer, the CVO of EVT Empowering Veterinary Teams, where she oversees the content development, clinical skills training, and overall vision of the company. She co-founded EVT to provide training programs, materials, and coaching learning opportunities for veterinary practices, as well as content development and training directives for veterinary industry service providers. This is a really long bio. The EVT team consists of veterinary professionals, industry leaders, and coaches. And we're going to stop there. 16 years in the veterinary field.
That's me.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
You're
great
welcome.
to be here.
I'm glad you're finally here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been on the list for a long time.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you.
Looking forward to it all week. I needed a bright light at the end of this particular show.
Yeah, y'all, the election just happened 2 days ago. So at time of recording. Yes. So tell me, what was your first job?
My first job, a swim lesson instructor. Yeah. I was been a swimmer since I was 12, and that was just the first segue. So Saturday mornings, there we went. 4 hours a week.
Really early Saturday mornings.
About 8 o'clock. I mean, it wasn't too bad. Swim practice was at 5:30 anyway, so during the week, so it wasn't too bad. It was a lot of fun.
I think I did swim team for an entire week, maybe. No, it was too early for me and cold.
To clarify, I was a synchronized swimmer.
So, that's cool.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So I didn't do every early morning practice. It was really just in big competition season towards the end of the year to get extra, workouts in. So our normal practices were in the afternoons.
So tell us about your career journey.
It's a long one, and it's a little bit of a convoluted path.
I love them. They're supposed to be convoluted.
I definitely didn't follow the shortest distance as a straight line adage at all.
I didn't either.
I'm so glad I didn't. I originally started off in marine biology. That was my undergrad, and had a job lined up at the New England Aquarium because I went to URI, and at the last minute was like, you know what? There's this really cool place in the Florida Keys, so I'm going to go there. And headed down like 2 weeks after graduation, and actually ended up meeting my husband there, which was not what I was looking for. He just kind of was like, hey, I'm here and I'm not going away. So, okay. 5 months after we met, we were engaged. So,
oh, wow.
And he was heading to grad school in Vancouver, which my aunt, uncle, and cousins were all out there. Says, well, if you're going out there, then I'm coming. So
it just worked out.
So before we headed out there, I did move back home and started volunteering at the vet hospital we took our cats to, and was a kennel assistant, did the walks and the poop scooping, and just was like, what's this? How can I do this? I want to learn all the things. And translated that when we moved out to British Columbia, that there was the island we lived on with my aunt and uncle. They had a small practice, but it was a mixed practice, and saw everything from cats, dogs, livestock, stranded seal pups and loons and geese. And it was amazing. Just really opened my eyes to, okay, this is, marine biology. How can I make these two things connect? So started volunteering at the Vancouver Aquarium, and then we moved downtown. It was awesome.
That's really cool.
I got to make the supplements and the feed. I wasn't a trainer. I was behind the scenes and was teaching kids, and it was so much fun. And then started working at a referral practice there as an assistant on the overnights, which is when I finally started falling in love with coffee. That was 2005? Yeah. So this is a while ago. And moved my way up into the surgical team. And that was just heaven. If I could be in the OR all day, every day, I was super happy. And
that takes a certain personality.
Oh, well, I'm slightly intense. Sometimes that's a good thing. My husband's put up with me for 17 years, so I'll let him speak to you at some point. But It was great. And I had a fabulous team to work with and a mentor who was like, you know, you're really good at this. I think you should think about vet school. And I was like, oh, okay. So I applied and got in, which was awesome. And the next week found out we were going to be parents.
Oh, no.
Okay. So could I have done both? Yes.
Yeah.
I could have, but my mentor said, you know what? You aren't going to be done in Vetmed. This is just the first time. You don't get a first chance with your kids.
Yeah.
Choose your family. And it was a tough call at the time, but I needed that wake up call. Like, what are your real priorities?
Yeah.
And, you know, here we are 13 years later. It was a good idea. So, turned that down and kept going. My husband finished his graduate program and all right, the Canada was like, get out. So I can't blame them. I really can't. So we thought we had jobs lined up in Florida. This was in 2008.
Oof.
Not a good time to move back home.
Yeah.
So those positions fell through. Thankfully, I have very supportive parents and they're like, come live with us. Which feels great, you know, moving back into your parents.
We've done it a few times.
Yeah, but honestly, they're incredible humans. They are the reason I am who I am, and it was fantastic. You know, our daughter really has a super tight bond with them, and I was able, thankfully, Vetmed. They're like, hey, you can work anywhere. And there was a hybrid.
That's really true.
Yeah, really, it's fantastic, and because my husband, with all of his degrees now, couldn't get anything. So he stayed home with the kid and I went to work at it was like a GP emergency kind of hybrid model. Not for very long because one of the doctors I worked with was like, hey, I'm opening a practice in South Philly. I'd love for you to be the lead tech.
Okay, sure.
Why not? And at this point I was looking back into, okay, I know what I'm doing and I'm really good at it. Not to toot my own horn, but I was getting pretty good, but I don't know why. Like I have the biological background, but school, I need more. Like I need to understand it. Yeah. Down to the, you know, microcosmic details, because that's how my brain works.
Mine too.
So went and helped my friend open her practice, which has exploded. It's a huge successful one now in Philadelphia, and she's still an owning partner, but she moved to Europe and I miss her. But started my degree at Manor College and graduated in 2012 and passed the national exam, CVT. Woohoo! And I was at a GP. So I was like, well, this is fantastic, but I'm not doing enough surgery. I want to do more, you know? Yeah. It's not the one surgeon I work with, you know, it's not a good day if you don't go home bloody. Too many connotations that we're just going to keep going.
So leave it.
And plus, you know, at the time, the school districts in Philadelphia weren't where they had evolved to now. So we made the decision to move out to the suburbs. And I started at a large referral emergency practice in Norristown, Pennsylvania. And I was there from 2012 till this past June. So 8 years at Metropolitan Veterinary Associates. And that's really where I grew into who I am. So in between that, I've had 6 knee surgeries. Yikes. So yeah, a match set though. So they're reconstructed and I can run little bits, but I do have a lovely disclaimer on my medical record.
But why would you want to?
Unfit to run.
But why would you want to?
I know it hurts. That's why I swim. So I did unfortunately have to have a surgery in the middle of that. So I had to step off and out of active practice for 9 months, and I did sales, which was not a good fit for me. I learned a lot about what I was good at and what I wasn't. And that was a hard lesson because I liked being good at things and I wasn't good at sales. And that was awful. So I got in touch with my advisor at Manor and they had an adjunct position open. And I was like, yes. So
a little bit of everything.
It was so much fun, you know, and then that's when I really discovered, well, hey, let's go back to my first job. I was a swim instructor and I was a swim coach throughout my educational career and collegiate everything. And then I worked and I taught kids all the time. I was always teaching. Why did I get away from that? Yeah. So I also went back to Metropolitan as a CSR, which client services is hard. Yeah. And I really thought I understood and respected those guys and gals that sit behind those desks and on the phones. And I did, but now I understand because I've sat there. they're the heartbeat of the hospital. They're why we all have jobs. You know, they are like the face and the voice. And thank you for taking the brunt of it. And okay, this is hard. So I was doing that while I was teaching, and then they created a position at the Hospital of Education and Development. And I was like, oh, please, you've got to pick me, please, please, please. And they did. And it was fantastic. So I did that, and then it just. I really needed to move to the next step and grow our training team and change things, and the pandemic hit. And I just had this huge vision of wanting to change everything and make it bigger and better and a positive impact. And there's only so much you can do within four walls.
Yeah.
And there's so many people in this incredible community of veterinary medicine that I wanted to be a part of their lives and make them recognize my catchphrase is, you're not just anything.
Yes. I love that.
You're awesome. You know, that's really, you have to recognize who and what you are. So it was not a negative parting. It was just time to move on. And that was, this past June. And we had done a soft launch of EVT in October, doing content development projects kind of on the side, and then transitioned to part-time in the spring. And then I made the final call in the summer, and it's just been this really fun journey since.
So you've been in practices in like almost every facet then.
A little bit. Yeah. I've done large animal, I've done exotics, done wildlife, rehab, and lab animal was my externship when I was in school for vet tech.
Oh, wow. And so a CVT is a certified vet tech, right?
Correct.
Can you just kind of talk about how that's different than, well, I know a different state set different credentials, but you know, most people, because I explain like CPA versus EA versus like, you know, preparer, right? So can you just kind of like, what's the hierarchy? Like kind of how does that work?
Sure. So really it's state dependent and country dependent. If you're a registered veterinary technician, a licensed veterinary technician, or a certified, and it's sometimes interchangeable with credentialed veterinary technician. Right. They all mean the same thing, that we've completed a 2-year program at an AVMA approved accredited university for veterinary technology, and we've passed the national exam. So just like human nurses, we have to sit for the boards, and they're not easy.
Yeah. So so basically you're vet nurses.
We are. And that's and I got to be careful there because that's a big bone of contention right now.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. And I know you did.
I know. I pay attention to all of those things.
It's funny. I see both sides of it, right? Because as technicians, with that title, it conveys that we do more than say in the human realm, you're a nurse, but you're in radiology, or you're in phlebotomy, you're in the OR, you're in NICU, you're set in your department, whereas vet techs do all of that. But then on the flip side, if you look at the definition and, you know, the negative connotations, which there shouldn't be, but there are, of a technician, that they aren't as qualified, right? It's a lesser credentialed position, which is ridiculous. But there's that. So there's
kind of like associate veterinarian.
That's so it's what we do, what we can't do, right? We can't diagnose, we can't prognose, we can't prescribe, and we cannot do surgery. Those are the 4 limitations, which are significant. And to be perfectly honest, as I've gone through my career, and you know, that tempting of being a doctor, it wouldn't have been a good fit for me, because I'm such a hands-on, need to be a part of the experience with my patients, but also with their families, you know, and you have to have a bit more removal as a doctor. And that would have been hard for me. So I like being in a leadership mentor type position, but doctors, you guys go ahead and have that. That's, I will support you as much as I can. But you are doing what you need to do. And it's great. So you can go further with your CVTs and things. You can get your specialty, veterinary technician specialty, in all of the ologies, right?
Not all the ologies.
Yeah, but in critical care, in internal medicine, dentistry, you know, anesthesia, just to name a few. So
there's a surgery one too, right? I think I talked to somebody the other day. I think I talked to somebody the other day that was a surgery.
Yes. Yeah, and they're adding new ones all the time. There's behavior, feline practitioners. You know, there's all these different colleges within veterinary medicine that they are branching into. It's amazing. And
I love this expansion. You know, because you know, for a long time it was just all GP and then just like your specialists, right? Right. There's just like all these like different things now that are great places to be, for all different kinds of personalities as well,
For sure.
too, right?
There's so many options. And that's another part of it too, is that when you get your licensure, you're not limited to being in practice, right? And that's another part of why I love doing what I do. It's like, realize that you're an artist, you are a MacGyver, which I said that to a group of students the other day, and they're like, who? I was like, oh. I mean, I guess
Inspector Gadget. Do they know who Inspector Gadget is?
I could have done that, but I mean, he didn't really invent things out of nothing,
You're right.
I've got to find a much more generational reference. I'll think on it. Maybe Doctor Who, if they're into that genre, but I mean, I'm always going to go back to the classic Doctor. Anyway, but just to give different options, right? Like, so in your world, there's not just one thing that a CPA can do. You're not limited by your acronym. Like,
no, and
it's amazing.
And again, and so we were kind of talking about this before we kind of like officially started rolling, but there's a lot of parallels between the accounting industry and the veterinary industry, and I think probably other industries, but it's this kind of jack of all trades. Just because I'm on this doesn't mean I'm a that kind of thing. People are always like, well, you're a CPA, so you're really good at math. No, I can do plus and minus and divide and times really well.
Yeah, but don't make me do algorithms. And
what I can do and what I do understand is beans and piles, right? So if I have an increase here, I have to have a decrease somewhere else, right? So it's the balance of the debits and credits. It's almost spatial reasoning that you kind of have to like see, like, if one account goes up, then something else had to go down, but where the piece is, like what's the most likely.
Right there is exactly how you go about when you're working with a difficult or critical patient. Okay, this went up, so something else went down. This is working, this isn't. What do I troubleshoot? How do I make this even out? Right. So it's a very analytical approach. And that's really why I got into it. Yes, I love animals, always have had a pet of some sort of furry, scaly creature in my house at all times. But I love medicine. Human blood makes me nauseous. So
I also love medicine. And I think because it's that like almost analytical, but also it's really similar to accounting. I feel like in the analytical and like that if this is a problem, how do we find a solution? Like this is our goal. Like it's all very to me, because this is how I work. That's not how probably most accountants' brains work. Mine's different. Well, I do know that, but
it's okay. You have to be special in your niche.
Accounting's fun. Accounting's fun if you do the fun stuff, I always say. Right. And so like medicine is probably fun if
you're doing the fun stuff.
You're doing the fun stuff for you.
Nobody likes squeezing anal glands. We're just going to put that out there. It's satisfying, but it smells so bad. But you have to take the bad to appreciate the good, and it's really what that comes down to for me is making sure that people can see that is taking, like, going back to when I would teach dentistry, if you're doing the x-rays, if you only take it from this angle, you only see how many roots?
Right.
2. Now you see 3. So you have to make sure that you check from all angles and understand those different perspectives. And that's why Empowering Veterinary Teams is there, because I can't do everything. I mean, I can, but I shouldn't, it's putting myself at risk or my patient, and it's not doing the practice of service if we aren't utilizing all of our members for their strengths that they possess. So it's really making sure that all perspectives and voices are heard and utilized and empowered.
So let's talk about the business. Let's talk about Empowering Veterinary Teams. Tell us about like what you guys do and your programs that you're spinning up.
Absolutely. Well, I have to go back a little bit to the beginning, because the story of how we started is really kind of what fuels us. So Caitlin Keat is my business partner, and we've been friends for 18 years. So we shouldn't have met. And it's kind of like one of those things, like it just was meant to be. So we were heading to our semester abroad, and we did semester at sea. So we were on a ship for 100 days and went around the world, which was amazing. And to be clear, I just paid that off a few years ago. So but it was worth every penny. And she ended up, her parents had like flight miles, and they used those to send her. and they were on a different plane. So she was across the aisle from me and my parents, and my mom is that type of mom that's like, oh my gosh, you're all by yourself. You're our family now. So she's just, Caitlin and I were like, hi. And it turned out we actually ended up, after the trip, moving from where I had grown up to her hometown. So it was just bizarre. And we were friends on the ship, but we didn't see each other all that much until we went to India, and we ended up on the same extra journey. And I'm grateful every day for this. I got to sit with her on the steps of the Taj Mahal as the sun set.
Really cool.
And we just we talked about everything of like, okay, we're here. Oh my God, we're here. And like, you're looking around you and the dichotomy that's surrounding you between the different individuals and the opulence and the poverty. It's just like all of this, like, it's a country of contradictions. As they told us that, but we saw it, we felt it. And
that's really cool.
That's where our friendship and our relationship started. And we never lost touch. She was the MC at our wedding. Our kids they're a little bit age difference, but they're super tight. And our husbands have the same beer club. So, there's that. And it really culminated in, at one of our family parties 4 years ago. And I had a little bit of a breakdown. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm missing too much. And there's so much more I want to do. How can we do this? What do we do? And she's like, I'm there. So she, we had that conversation of fixing each other, emotionally, and then mentally. It's like, all right, what can we do?
Yeah.
Because she's an engineer by trade and program manager at Lockheed Martin. So she is the herder of my cats, and she keeps the operations running. She is so analytically, you'd love her, analytically savvy, the spreadsheet queen. And keeps all of the reports, the numbers in order, and takes my vision and says, okay, let's make this approachable and tangible and achievable. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yes.
So that's where she comes into it. And it's just, we have this synergy that's just, it's almost magical. And
it's dreamer and doer. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I literally just said the other day, I need somebody to take all this stuff, all these ideas and stuff I have in my head and go do them.
Yes. So she can't do the veterinary things, but she does the writing and the editing and the keeping it together and the cohesiveness. She's what makes us work. So my vision and her savvy is what EVT is really coming to mean. And like you were saying about the crossover in industry, what we're doing and I promise I will actually answer your question, is we don't want it to be limited to veterinary medicine.
Yeah.
What we're looking to create, we joke, we don't have time to dream small. So let's just change the world.
Yeah. Let's just do everybody.
And that's where our motto came from: inspire, instruct, impact together, because we're stronger together, and the veterinary community, humanity as a whole is. So what we are looking to do is we have like a 3-tracked business model where we work within the practices to identify existing leaders and give them the tools and the skills to then train the rest of their team. Alongside of that, we create training programs based upon the process, instead of taking the onus off the individual and saying, oh, you're a beginner, you're intermediate, you're advanced. Well, that's just no. They're learning, they're developing, and they're mastering their skills. It's a very different conversation when you change it to that vernacular. So we create that program based upon that, from orientation to continued growth and development of existing team members. And that's customizable. Awesome. So webinars, workshops, and things of that regard. We're working with a couple of vet tech programs here up in Vancouver. I've kept in touch with my friends up there, which is super fun. And doing prototypes of vascular models. These guys behind me are working. They're working stuffies. So I just finished our CPR model here. So what I'd love to eventually do is, no, I'm not going to patent it. No, I'm going to teach you how to make it yourselves. Yeah. And all of the things that are inside that training mannequin, you can have from the hospital that you were going to throw out anyway. So yay, eco-friendly. So educational models and things, didactic learning materials. And then within the industrial sector, we've all sat through lunch and learns and CE events where it's right that like where's the food?
and I never even really worked in big industry, and I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you did. I totally get it. So really changing the mood and making sure that we're hitting those visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic learners, that we get all of that, and making sure that it's relevant and accessible and it's speaking to the industry in an appropriate way. So all of those combined is what we're looking to do. And really, it's not limited to that. We work with a bunch of incredible groups with incentive life coaching. Get Motivated is another well-being, and we're writing a playbook together, which we're kind of peppering social media with, hey, it's coming. Awesome. And just any way, and we can work with anyone to be the mirror for them and within their industry, within our industry, to say, you are enough.
Yeah.
You just need to see it.
Yeah.
And that's what we're here for.
That's awesome.
Because you can't take the skills training and the mental well-being and do them separately. They are so intertwined, because if your skill set is lacking, then your mental health suffers. If your mental health is needing support, then your clinical application and aptitude isn't going to be up to where you need it to be. So it's the cycle that we're looking to break the norm and give them more.
I love it. I love how you're hitting like all the different types of learners.
Thanks.
And because I think
take credit for that. That VARC model is Neil Fleming out of New Zealand, but we work with them. So we can customize the packages for our clients. And he's just a brilliant guy.
I think the focus on, how different brains work, and really kind of that change in a lot of our, we all kind of, we get to talk about mental illness, and we get to talk about ADHD, which I was just diagnosed with a year ago. And like, my brain works differently, and I've had to compensate, right? Or I've had to learn in different ways or make something work for me, right? Yeah. But now we have the ability to hit all those different types of learners, in the way that we teach.
And I think that's what's missing from a lot of the conversations within, training modalities and within practices. And we don't have time for that right now, but the budget doesn't fit it, but it will save you time and money.
Yes, in the long run. And I think, especially, when we're dealing with, what's going on right now with the pandemic, people are probably different learners now than they would be, or they were 6 months ago.
Yeah, you've had to adapt. Like, I didn't realize I had anxiety until I found out the hard way. It was manifesting, and I was just angry all the time.
Yeah,
like, angry. What is going up? Oh. Okay. So, you own that, and you take the steps to address it, like you were saying that you were doing. And you have to adapt, and you have to change, and that's really the only constant we have.
Right. So, let's talk about, especially, I know like the industry is changing, and it's even more rapidly changed in the last 6 months.
Absolutely. So
talk about what you guys are seeing there, and how, you're helping clinics adapt.
Absolutely. So what we're looking at doing is taking all of what we were planning to do as live trainings and modifying them to a webinar setting. And can it be a live webinar? Absolutely. And then we record it. And that's part of what the package includes, is you have that for future references. So we've really shifted our active in-person model to a digital platform. We are starting to integrate back into practices. I'm actually going to one in 2 weeks to do a CPR training. So we are slowly working our way back into that sector, but also just we are finding that those authentic and genuine conversations, like the really present, being mindful with what we're saying, how we're saying it, and recognizing when it's time to be quiet and just listen.
Yeah.
And networking with a truly amazing group of people. There's more and more that I'm meeting, and just by like, hey, I read your post and it really resonated with me, and I wrote something really similar. Let's just have a conversation. And it's happening.
Yeah.
The formal mentality of like, we're going to keep in our practice, we're going to do our way, we're stuck, is going away.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that too.
I love that part about this whole thing.
It's kind of awesome that I'm having conversations with you in Colorado, and with people in Vancouver, and folks down in Florida, and everywhere. Actually out in Surrey in the UK, just it's incredible, because we are all recognizing that the time for filtering and containing and hiding problems has not worked ever. And it's certainly detrimental now, and it needs to change.
Yeah.
So that has been, I think what I'm seeing is the most prevalent trend is these open, honest, and authentic showing up.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to be part of it.
No, that's so fun. And I
is.
think, and I think that, the whole, like, a world has opened for a lot of people in this, right? Like, as much as, being on Zoom all day really is hard. I did it literally all day yesterday, and I've just been like a zombie today.
Yeah.
Because my brain really only has so much capacity for this. But I got to talk to so many cool people yesterday. Like, right? I had just a bunch of different meetings. I had a client meeting, a potential client meeting. I had, some other people I was connecting with, a marketing person. Like, every time we hop on, it's just like, it's so good to see you, like, because we get to like connect with people. I know it's not the same. I'm a hugger.
Oh my gosh.
And so this lack of like human contact that's not my family is really hard for me because I'm a hugger.
Have you done the virtual hug?
No, there's a virtual hug option.
Ready? We're going to do it together.
Okay, I'm ready.
You're going to take your right hand.
Okay.
Put it under your left armpit. And take your left hand and put it on your right tricep. Tuck your chin and squeeze. Does that feel like I gave you a hug?
Mostly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as, I know, but it's a little bit different than just kind of doing the cross arm one. It's like really you're in there. My friend Sonia taught me that, and I just sometimes when I'm talking with her or someone else, I'm just like, I need to just do this, and it gives you that. At least I know it's me giving myself a hug, but I'm just gonna close my eyes and
pretend.
Pretend.
Yeah, I dropped something off at a friend's the other day, and she's like, I was really excited you're coming till I realized I can't hug you, and I really needed a Jamie hug, and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm just saving up all this superpower for right now.
Right? Oh my, can you imagine when we all start hugging again, what that's going to do? Like the collective universal hug energy. Oh, if there's not some shooting stars, there's something wrong.
Yeah. So can we so I want to talk about, the industry adapting. And so you've said, really kind of practices are getting out of their own heads and out of their own ancillary or even local. Are you seeing them adapt things faster? Like adopting technology faster, adopting.
If they're not adopting it, they're open at least to the conversation of it. And they are, it's much easier to have that type of, hey, have you considered this? Mm-hmm. And again, branching away from, well, this is what we've always done. And just because you always have doesn't mean you should. Has always been one of my lovely phrases. And they're away from, just.
Mine's always like, and.
Right, yes, exactly. Your point?
Your point is what?
And how's that been working out for you so far? Because your turnover rate and your employee sick days and like all the call outs and things, it's not working. So I think this has brought into stark reality what hasn't been working. And so, all right, well then we need to change. Things have got to give. We have to have a social worker on site. We have to have more adaptable products. Like there's this great company we're starting to work with that has laser therapy, but it's at home.
Oh,
right. So instead of being stuck in like having to go to the clinic and have that huge machine sitting in the corner, it's nope, you prescribe it as the doctor and then they use it at home.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah. And I'm working with all of my practices. I'm like, online pharmacy.
Yes.
Spin it up.
It's
pictures for follow-ups.
Yes.
Spin it up.
and do video chats, because I can't even tell you how often in the ER when we'd have our receptionists, or we have luckily emergency admins that would take the calls that are our nurses, like email us a picture or email us a video if it's a seizure, like send us this photographic stuff. And especially now, but awesome. Then you have it in the record, right? So you have that in perpetuity for like, hey.
Right. And nobody has to leave their house, right? Or like people are already stressed enough.
Absolutely.
Your dog is having seizures or your animal's having seizures. You can just take a video, send it over. They can tell you what the next steps are.
Right. I mean, I'm always going to recommend that if it's the first seizure, or if it's been a certain amount of time, go to the ER.
Well, right.
But at least you have that documentation. And I mean, my cat will eviscerate you. She's awful. So if I don't have to take her in, you're welcome, because she's so bad. But it's absolutely, the telemedicine has been huge. The lack of paper records and using digital platforms are fantastic, and just different ways of doing things. AI is coming; it's here.
Well, and the cool thing about some of the some of those, those telemed stuff platforms and stuff is you can have your text do that. It doesn't have to be the doc. Right? Like you can really leverage your staff skills and their expertise to do some of this stuff, right? And if they have a question, they just have a question, but at least it's not the pet parent and the pet sitting there and you're sending in the vet, you're sending in the text when really they thought they were seeing the doc. Like you can really have the text do the work and learn and get the skills.
It's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Right there, just so much.
Would be a huge change for the industry. And I know that some practices have been doing this, right?
Oh yeah, a lot have.
But the practices that have spun up this stuff, in this time are going to be better on the front end. Like I keep saying, at the end of this, it's going to be, you're going to have processes and systems and efficiencies.
Absolutely. And then you can save that person time for those that really need it, and it's another way of triaging, which is a critical skill.
That's really cool. I just think it's cool because I just know, as somebody who spends a lot of time paying attention to the industry, that, techs really are underutilized. And there isn't a whole lot of job satisfaction in those a lot of the time. But if they can be utilized in a way that is helping the hospital and they're, they get some more job satisfaction, that's huge.
It is. And you said it perfectly, to leverage them,
right?
To get them up and realize what you are doing is so impactful.
Yeah.
And you are an integral part of this team. Don't you dare tell me you're just an assistant. Yeah. No, if you're not holding that animal appropriately, then I'm getting bitten, you're getting scratched, and the needle is not going where it's supposed to. So that is an absolutely essential skill.
Yeah, and I just love it.
You are doing laundry, and I know you're cleaning. I've done it, and if it's my patient, I'm absolutely going to be back in there. I'm talking like I'm still in practice. It's still there.
You are in your brain. That's okay.
In my brain, right? So you're not the only crazy one here. But really, it comes down to exactly that. Leverage your skills. And, it's the difference too between mentorship and sponsorship. So you can have an incredible or a detrimental mentor. And those are absolutely the good ones are necessary. And to have one and to be one. I've been in both roles, and that's really a humbling experience. But you also need to be their voice when they're not in the room. And that advocacy and that sponsorship is something that is the next step, right? So it's you transition and maintain that mentor role, but then also be their sponsor and advocate while they're not there.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I mentor some accounting people, and I'm always just like, they teach me stuff all the time.
Oh my God. Yeah, like what do our kids teach us, right?
Patience. They teach us.
All right, maybe I need to hang out with your kids. I need a little bit more.
My daughter. My mini-me.
I have one of those too.
It's patience. Oh.
Yes, it's all right. It's recognizing this isn't. I'm going to remove myself from this situation is what I need to do right now. So
I do that too. I'm like, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, mom time.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go. Final question. Oh, actually, before I ask my last question, what is the easiest way for people to find you?
The easiest way. Head to our website. It's empoweringveterinariateams.com. You can send an email. You can sign up for our weekly blog letter. We are not going to pepper you. It's honestly, we do a Friday posting every week, just our thoughts on it.
Okay.
We are on all social platforms and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which I tweet on occasion.
I tweeted
and
today.
LinkedIn. Yeah. So if you Google us, you'll find us. We're
awesome.
all over.
And we'll drop everything we can find in the.
Cool. I appreciate it. Yeah, we love hearing from people. We are definitely interactive. So you send us a message, you'll hear from us, and it's likely going to be me or one of my other direct teammates.
That's awesome. So what would you say is the number one skill that all vet practice staff need to be developing every day?
Communication. And I don't mean that so blasé, and blandly. It's really multifaceted. You have your interpersonal, you have your intrapersonal, your client interface interactions, how you talk to the doctors, how you talk to the assistants, how you talk to one another, and how you communicate all of that when you get home. and your inner dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And it's recognizing, are you in a defensive mood? Are you in a controlling place? Are you just combative today? Okay, you're having a moment. And I definitely did not subscribe to the good vibes only.
Yeah.
No, that's not that's unfair. That's toxic, happiness, which I think you and I both know Josh Weissman. So
yes.
Undoing Happy. I love that. I mean, he's so right, because you're not always going to have happy. So how do you communicate that effectively and appropriately? And also making sure that you're telling yourself the right things, and your negative self-talk. It's, oh my gosh, I'm my own worst critic. Aren't we all?
Yes.
So yes, communication, just because it's so leveled and so vastly important for how we connect and continue to move onwards.
Alyssa, thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you. I've had a blast.
Awesome. Yay. That's all I need to know.
I love hanging out with you, and keep doing all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.